As Nigerians and human beings, we have the right to assemble, to associate, and to express ourselves freely. These rights are protected under the African Charter for People and Human Rights, the Nigerian Constitution, and the FOI, which is Freedom of Information Act. I can go on and on listing other acts and charters Nigeria is signed on to, but you get the gist. So essentially, we have rights that we are not allowed to exercise because of where we live. So today I'll be speaking to two activists who have used their platforms, both physical and online, to shine light on issues surrounding freedom of expression in Nigeria. With me in the studio is Obianuju and Taylor.
Hi.
Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So we'll be talking about your experiences when it comes to protest and expressing your rights. So I know I don't want to tell your story for you. So I'll just love you to give our viewers a brief background of your experiences with Nigeria when it comes to your freedom of expression and also your brother.
Okay. Ideally, I would just say my name is Obianuju and I am Chijoke's sister. But a little bit of background. Chijoke was my elder brother, and he was arrested by the police in 2012. So it's like 12 years after. He was arrested by the police and disappeared. We never saw him again. When my parents went to the police station to initiate bail for him, they told them that he has been transferred from the Ajali police station in Anambra State to Okuzu SARS. And my parents went to SARS, and the OC of SARS then, James Nwafo, told them that the boy wasn't there. As my parents were leaving, they saw my brother being led in. So my mom raised this alarm and said, that's the boy, that's Chijoke, because that's the person we are looking for. They were sent out. The next time they were allowed to see the OC of SARS, he told them that they were too late and the boys have been killed and there's nothing we can do about it, point blank. It's been 12 years of trying to get justice for my brother, trying to find out what he even did wrong and why he wasn't allowed to have access to the courts, because, you know, as one of our rights, as stipulated by the Constitution, is the right to be prosecuted, and you have to be heard by the judge, a competent court with jurisdiction over the matter. My brother was never charged to court. Nothing of that sort happened, and my parents advocated for him as they could because, well, I was quite young when this happened. And I took over the advocacy as I got older and have been advocating for my brother and getting into trouble with the police for that. And it's been a very turbulent ride so far. So that's like the background story about Chijoke and what has been happening. Up to now, we don't have access to his body. We've not had a burial. We don't know where he is. We don't know if he's even alive or dead. My dad has searched for him, even in morgues and rivers where dead bodies are thrown by the police. We've gone searching for him and we've not found him. So we don't even know for sure what happened with him or his body up until now. And we're still like going through the whole process of trying to get justice for him.
Okay, were you involved in the NSAS protest in 2020?
Yeah, I was involved in the NSAS protest. I was among the people in Abuja during the NSAS protest.
Taylor, were you involved in the protest as well?
Yes, I was actually. I was in Abuja as well. Yes, okay. I was.
When were you out like every day? How long did it? Because I was out for just a day. And then,
really?
Yeah, it got really bad.
Boring.
So I had to go back inside. So how many days were you out?
I was out like almost every day. In fact, people would message me to know where we are, or use my location via I'm posting on Instagram or Instagram Live to be able to tell where we were at the time, and they come around, and then people summon courage to be able to come out for the protest because they are seeing me at the forefront, right? Being part of the protest, cleaning, serving food, serving drinks, just marching and just trying to get voices heard. For someone who grew up in Lagos, I've had my own fair share of of police brutality and all of the ill treatment. And you're talking about protesting in so many ways and versions, because as I was raised, my parents always taught me that we should always speak up. And whenever we see anybody's rights is being trampled upon as well, we should also speak up to them on their behalf. So that's just the kind of home I grew up in. And it would just be a great disservice to myself, to people around me, to my family, if I did not speak up, at the time.
So I was going to ask you what motivated you to join the protest, but you already answered the fact that it's how you were brought up and it's literally been imbibed in you since you were a kid.
Yeah.
And for you, I assume it was your experience. So you had like a first-hand knowledge of what SARS could do. For many people, it was stories on social media, things they've heard. But for you, you witnessed it and you lived
I
it.
was in the office that Friday and someone chats me and say, "Oh, we are protesting. We are going to Ministry of Justice." And I'm watching the status, and then the next thing I see, my friends are running back because they had been shot. They were running to that Taj Bank.
Actually, that's what actually angered me.
I took permission from the office to go and eat, and I had to go see them. And I said, you know what, tomorrow I'm coming out from morning, and I'm not going to like miss out on the protest. I was really pissed off at the way that we are being treated. So I that Friday when I left the office, I went to meet some of the people that I know. I tried to reach out to Shore, to Abdul Mahmoud, and so many other people, Henry Shield, all of them, so we can all go do the protest. And on Saturday, I came out to Bega with my friends, and we marched from Bega to Force Headquarters before we were shot with tear gas that night. With Aisha Yusufu.
Yeah.
Aisha was there with us. And when they started shooting the tear gas, Aisha was controlling us and saying, you guys need to go. You guys need to go. And I was
hit you.
Yes, and at that point...
I was on Sunday.
It was a Saturday.
I was Sunday.
Yeah, it's Saturday. Yeah, much later.
They were chasing us from the headquarters, right?
Yeah, in my mind I was like, if that was a bullet, I would have
That's
died.
the end of it.
Yeah, but guess
Even
what?
your spine said.
Yeah, I was out again the next day, right? So I think
we went out every day.
Yeah, the mutual justice situations what actually angered me as well. That made me actually really come out. Because before then, Nigeria, they say protests start and people are really a bit hesitant. But I saw how I'm like, what are you treating? Why did you treat people like this? You have a right. This is your right. You get so. I'm like, what? Let's head out, and then every day afterwards, continue.
Wow. And so, were there any challenges you faced physically, like to you or people with during the protest? Like I know, like you mentioned the tear gas, but like I want you to just take us through some challenges you faced that stood out to you during the protest, and then after, from anybody, any entity, harassment, anything.
It was a madhouse during the protest. So the first day we were beaten, and Aisha was the one that like coordinated us leaving the headquarters. I had left my bag, and I was talking to someone before they started throwing the tear gas. So I'd lost my phone, my bag, everything there. I tried to go back. I just said, come on, get back. And we left. And then the second day we came out for protest, we were still at, we had gotten to, after 4 arms, after Secretariat, like you're getting towards the road that leads to the villa.
Yes.
That's where they ambushed us. They used the water hose. So we backed them, because when you back the water hose, it wouldn't like push you, because it has a lot of pressure, right? So when we backed them, they got down and they used the
batons
at us.
And beat you.
There's this guy that comes to mind. Jeff Phillips that went for Big Brother Niger.
Yes.
He was with us and he was in front. He was the first person to fall. Like he was the first person they hit. Mainly we saw him on the ground. Everybody tears. We ran. From there to Banex, they were chasing us with their cars. Yes. There's my friend Farida.
Same here. I had the same. So they chased us from Itama. We had to go to amusement park to hide myself and a couple of other popular faces here in Abuja. So we had to go.
Farida was hit. Her glasses broke. They were hitting her. She had blood clots in her eyes. That's how bad it was. The person that saved us while we were running, because I was running with 2 other girls, was Ma'am Ene of Action Aid. She was the one that was driving, and then she like stopped for us to enter her car, and then she took us. Yeah. But guess what? We ran, and then they said, oh, they have dispersed, and so we reconvened again. That evening, that was the evening that Davido came. Yeah, we were with Davido, and he was kneeling down to beg them, and these guys cocked the gun and said they were going to shoot.
Yeah.
David was so scared, and everybody was like, why are you scared? We're going to do it. And so the next day, we decided to not go to Force Headquarters, since they are always attacking us. They decided to use Bega, to shut down Bega. That's when we did
I think
the
that's
Bega.
the day it came out.
So we did the Bega, and we did Airport Road. We shut down the 2 places during the protest. And then there was the burning of cars. My friends' cars were broken. The windshields were broken. They set
So
it on
about that,
fire.
do you think that was protesters or that was, you know how there's
Oh,
how
but they were not protesters. We saw them being dropped off in SUVs. In SUVs, they were
thugs,
not
yeah.
protesters.
Yeah.
They were thugs that were brought in, and we even offered some of them food. The first set we offered them food, and they did not attack us. Then the second set came, and they were not willing to listen to us. They just started attacking. They didn't even understand pidgin English, so they just started attacking
Wow.
us.
So
So we caught some of them and we beat some of them and we took them to hospital, of course. Yeah, but like the whole thing was crazy. We went to National Assembly to report our cars that were broken. Were you with us with Raphael Adebayo? We all went there and they locked the gate on us. They didn't even allow us come in. So yeah, that's some of the the small ones. Victor Chinyaka lost his phone. The night we went to CBN, they burnt the entire music, the pickup truck we used to put the music, because we wanted to stay awake, right? We were hearing that they were going to attack us, so we tried to stay awake. So we had a DJ that was playing music, and we are at the CBN because that was when they had blocked the accounts of protesters, right? Then the next minute we saw our our DJ truck on fire.
On fire.
We had to pay for those entire equipment. Yes, we had to contribute and pay for it. They took Victor's phone. What was his name? Fortune, who is a lawyer, had to write so many petitions. I'm like, are you churning it out by minute? He was writing every freaking minute petitions to this person, to that person. It was crazy. And then what happened in Lagos happened. And then we all had to go home. And then that came the part of being tracked to our houses.
Wait, we'll get to that. So you want to say something earlier?
Yeah, so I was just, trying to piggyback off what you were saying earlier, just like, throwing some more facts as to the, protest I feel like she missed out on about, assembling beggar, is that in Abuja, every single day, protesters were being attacked by the police and with thugs, and they bring in thugs in police vehicles,
And that
drop them
woman,
out, and they attack
there's a
people.
woman that brings them
and
Hawa
even
or
down to
something.
National Assembly, when we took protests in National Assembly, they attacked us, endlessly. But for me, really, was the resilience of the Nigerian youths. That is, irrespective of the amount of times we are being attacked, we would still
Kept
come
on
out
coming
every single.
out.
Yeah, so they would attack us, they would tear gas us, use the police vehicles to push us back, to suppress us, and then we still keep coming back. And we do, with Davido, that Sunday I remember very vividly his bravery, so to say, because in Nigeria, I would like to say a lot of people really do not have the need, they feel unaffected by it, and they really don't care. For someone, and then they say Nigeria is Nigeria, it can happen to anybody really, but for someone like him, I would say is sort of in his bubble, still bravely marched out there, because that Sunday was very, very brutal for us.
Yeah, it
really,
was.
because they really,
That was what pushed us to beggar.
they really attacked us round the clock, non-stop. We kept on pushing. It was endless. People's energy was down until Davido showed up, and then I think around that Yakubu go one roundabout. We
Yeah.
calmed there for a bit, and then we marched forward, and then we continued. And that's what happened that
And
Sunday.
he knelt
whereby
down with us when they told all of us
they
to.
said we should have, we went to CBN,
It's crazy.
we marched around Abuja again, and then we tried to camp out all night. I remember I was there. I had an engagement that night. So I came from my engagement there, went back to my engagement, came again, and then I was, let me go home. This was like 2, 3 a.m.
Yep.
And then by the time I left, that is when they sent more thugs and they set the place on fire and they attacked people there. So yeah, pretty much.
Wow. So you mentioned being traced to your house. Were there any legal actions taken against people that took part in protests? Like any lawsuits
I mean,
or anything?
some of them were arrested. I didn't think that there was any lawsuits instituted against them.
I was struck as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, because I know that Iroms was arrested from Lagos and brought to Abuja and all of that, but I didn't see any action,
Any
any
legal
lawsuit,
actions?
any legal action
What
taken.
about you,
But
Zero?
but for me, they came to my house so many times. I just wore. That was when that's the first time I wore a hijab. I wore a hijab and moved from my house to Nasarawa, and then that was where I took a car to Anambra. I had to leave Abuja, of course, because they were coming all the time and my neighbors were complaining.
Oh, okay. So for me was
Wow.
the fact that the Commonwealth reached out. They sent me an invitation and they sent a signed letter from the Secretary General, inviting 20 vocal youths during the NSAS protest, and I was listed. And my mind, I was like, how did they even know about me in the first place?
Did they come to your house?
No, they sent a letter to my email. Like they sent
Okay,
via email,
okay,
but it was
email.
scanned, and
Yeah.
like for these people to know me and get my details, clearly the powers that be also know me. And then I became scared because they're inviting us to have like a forum, come and have discussions, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to do like, oh, the Nigerian youths and the government, blah, blah, blah. And I was worried, and thankfully I had a friend who was in the UK at the time and also was doing similar work. So I sort of back channel with him, say, you know what, I'm worried about this, how can we get this done? Because I feel they are going to use it as an excuse to, cause further harm.
Yeah.
Because I had to go offline, I had to like deactivate my phone, turn off location services and go offline because I have, information came in that they are looking for you. Practically, you get the panic and anxiety attack I was dealing with, practically hiding right in Abuja, and then the email comes in. And then they said, I think, long story short is, we're told that if they would persist to persecute you after this, then they offered, the asylum option of you would give this. And then we had the meeting, and they assured us nothing's going to happen. The people in the government said, yeah. And then it happened. We said what we wanted to say. And then, I'm still here. So thankfully that happened. So yeah, they did come after us.
So now ask the impact on personal lives. You mentioned you had to move back to Anambra. How long were you in Anambra for before you came back to Abuja?
I actually needed to be in Anambra before
that happened.
because the panel hearing, my brother's case happened in Anambra, and I needed to get to Anambra, but I can't fly to Anambra. I can't move from Abuja to Anambra because I was the known face and they were actively looking for me. My lawyer was like, if you guys have anything against that, you could just like come arrest her properly. Why trying to like kidnap her?
Yeah.
You cannot come and be telling my gates man that you're my friend. You're not. If you're my friend, you should be able to call me and make me come out, So I went to Anambra after the hearing. I came back to Abuja, deactivated my SIM. In fact, I threw away the SIM. So I reactivated my SIM in 2021 around April. But for the most part of between November till April of 2021, my number was off. So you could only get me if you have my WhatsApp or other social media that I use. There are some social media that I use for conversations. So that was what I did. Of course, I lost my job during the NSAS because of my participation in the NSAS. So I think it was a blessing.
Did they tell you that was why you lost your job? Like they fired you?
The fear of my employer then was the backlash from government.
Okay.
So I understood that. She said, well, we can't risk it. Can you even remove the fact that you worked with us from your LinkedIn, from everywhere, so they don't find us? I felt angry at that time. Now I may be understanding. But because the reason I felt angry was that it's a civil society organization.
True.
And I expected it to be more
willing to
supportive, especially when they have advocacy in their names. So I was like, oh, you should be able to advocate, right? But you can't have the expectations of people because you don't know where they're coming from. So I understand now. So it was a blessing and a curse because I was unhappy that I don't have a source of income, but I was also happy that I had a lot of flexibility to be able to pursue my brother's case. At that point, I was really hopeful that the panel would be successful and would get justice, but nothing came out of it.
Were there any conclusions? Or
so the panel sat in Anambra. There were over 110 petitioners. The panel has released their findings and white paper. Their findings and reports and submitted to the Anambra State government. But the government never really made it public. Neither did they release the white paper. So nobody knows what they wrote in their findings, and nobody knows what the final report is on that. So
okay. So Taylor, I'm going to ask you, so this was 2020. Since then and now, there have been a number of protests in Nigeria. So what do you think about the state of protests in Nigeria at the moment? NY governance was, I think, last month. So, what do you think about how protests in Nigeria are going now with the arrest, people that were charged to court for treason, which is actually a crime punishable by death? So, yeah.
Personally, I would say it's ridiculous because I'm like, what is happening? Right? But I mean, we're just watching and seeing everything, unfold. So to say, I would say it's ridiculous completely. And it's like saying, oh, I have the right to portable drinking water. And then I'm insisting, oh yeah, I have to drink clean drinking water. And then tell me, oh yeah, I'm going to charge to court for treason for asking for my rights to drink, clean, portable drinking water. You see how crazy it sounds. So that's the same thing, right? So I mean, I'm hoping the courts will do the right thing and then we'll throw the case out and then sanction everybody that needs to be sanctioned, because what's in the I'm trying to find a more
Right,
palatable
yeah.
word so
Yeah.
to say to use. Yeah.
What about you, Benujo?
I feel like it's unfair what is going on in Nigeria. Voices are being quelled because it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Protesting is an act of civil disobedience, which is a pure act of patriotism. People going out to protest shows that they like the nation, they want the nation to
To work,
prosper. So
yeah.
that is why they are speaking out and saying that this is what we think you should do better. And then you are saying no to them. And it's not enough that you ignored people protesting. You then go ahead to arrest them and charge them frivolously for treason. And these are children. There are children below 14, below 18 that are being charged for treason. It's the most horrific thing I've read in my life. I'm like, why? Do you know what it means to charge a baby for treason? That's what it is. And the fear I have is that the judiciary may not be able to do anything. They may just want to pander to the government of the day, and that's my fear. That's my biggest fear, right? Because ideally, like you said, they should throw away those cases and then sanction them for frivolous lawsuits. It made no sense to waste the time of the government or of the judiciary
courts.
or the courts listening to a case, and you say, oh, because these kids joined the protest, they were hungry. That was what brought them out. They were hungry. That's why they were protesting. And then you say, oh well, because they came out to protest, you're charging them with treason. What is treason? What is the treasonable offense in protesting?
Yeah.
It's amazing the lengths we are digging. Like the depth of our wickedness in Nigeria now is amazing. No, I'm being serious. Even the lawyers that draft that petition, that lawsuit, and submitted it should be ashamed of themselves, like lying down in bed and sleeping every night knowing that you kept people's children in prison for no good reason, just because we are uncomfortable or you were paid because some people were uncomfortable with people protesting. Everybody should be grateful when you see protesters
I mean,
outside,
people
protesting means that they
defend
still care.
serial killers. So I feel like when it comes to lawyers, the law is the law. Everybody has a right to sue anybody.
So when people say people defend serial killers, my argument is this: everybody, no matter your crime, is entitled to defense.
Exactly.
So yes, lawyers will be assigned. Even if lawyers do not want to, the government is mandated to assign a lawyer to someone who has committed any offense. It is normal. What I'm asking is, why is a government prosecuting its citizens? Because now
not the lawyer's fault.
Yeah, exactly. For you to even sit down, do you know what is called resigning? It happens. You can say no, I refuse to do it, and what's the worst that can happen? You be fired.
Not everybody can make that decision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is that people begin to make that decision. That is what I'm asking. We need to have morals. We need to have our principles that we say we will adhere to, and because of that you make decisions. Like, for example, me, there are some jobs you will offer me and I will say I wouldn't do it. It's not because of anything. I say I wouldn't do it because it is against my principles or morals. But I find that in Nigeria we have lesser people with morals in government, and that is because, and I don't blame them. My opinion is always that we don't need good people in government. What we need is strong institutions. Strong institutions make people bend and do the right thing.
The thing about Nigeria and laws is we don't have laws that are lacking. Like, we are very easy to sign treaties, to jump into charters, to sign declarations, but when it comes to now implementing these things, that's where, because you can see how many things we've signed that gives us the right as Nigerians to protest, to assemble, to
Of course.
express ourselves. But then when it comes to these things being put into action, that's where there's problem.
Yeah.
So I have one final question for both of you. So seeing everything that's happened in Nigeria, would you ever come out to protest?
Yeah.
So you do believe that it's an effective mode of expression?
Yeah, I believe it's an effective mode of expression. Let me tell you why. When the NSAS happened, a lot of people said, oh, it has ended, we did not achieve anything. There are some wins with NSAS.
Achieved a lot, actually.
Yes,
because the reason why the police would even be scared, some of them, well, not all of them, is because of the NSAS.
They'll be more cautious.
The reason why more people are aware of their rights as regards interaction with the police is NSAS. So I think that protests are very effective, albeit maybe small, a bit small, but is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Yeah.
So every win counts. Every
Yeah.
win is a step to getting to where you want it to get to. So will I protest again if there is any need for that? Yes,
Yes,
I
you
would
will.
be one of the first people out there protesting. Even though my mom and my parents would
Against
say,
it, I'm
please
sure.
don't go
Yeah.
out. My
Yeah, they
friends
always
during the end back governors protest, my friends were very glad that I was not in the country to be part of it. Because if I was, I would be out there, because it made no sense to the people to stay inside, because there is. But again, protests in Nigeria are also being hijacked. So I'm actually very worried about which one should I join, because
But
government
just to
sometimes.
add something to what
Yeah.
you're saying about, the effects of protest and the wins. I'll give my own example.
So
So,
would you come out for protest if it
so let me let me just give these examples.
Actually,
As
he
to,
won't.
let me give the example. I mean, let me land.
I think it's
there.
relative.
Let me land. So, as a UConn member, I went to camp in Adamawa State, and at the time I was flying back to Lagos, and then I also fly back to Abuja, and then I considered the option of fly back to Lagos here, and I considered the option of stopping, just staying back in Abuja, right? Because it was like a transit flight, so they stopped in Abuja before going onward to Lagos. So I went to the airport earlier, during the day, to ask them, is it possible for me to do this? Yes, you can do it. And I said, you know what? Let me go get my bag and get to the airport. By the time I get back, I would decide if I would stop over in in Abuja or just go onward to Lagos. On getting back to the airport, the attendant at the time just broke my flights and just kept me as a transit in, like, to move my flight to Abuja. I'm like, I never asked you to do this. I only came to inquire if it's possible to do it. And then they said, okay, you know what, the flight is full. At the time, I remember another airline, I think Arik was having issues at the time, so they were not flying. So flights out of Yola was very difficult.
Yeah.
Asman was going just 3 times a week, so everybody was clamoring on Medview. Is it Medview Airlines? Yes, Medview Airlines at the time. And then essentially I had to buy a business class ticket.
Wow.
But they're going to put me in economy, a fresh ticket aside from the one I'd already bought that the guy now broke.
And they will put you in economy.
Yes, but I just needed to leave it out, right?
Yeah,
So I
nice.
was ready to do that, make payments, boarded the flight. They call for boarding, started boarding the flight. They oversold tickets. And myself and two other UConn members, what they just did was, you're on the queue, you're climbing the stairs, and then I remember they rushed out. And they're like, oh, there's a business class. Because obviously people somewhere now was making payment for it. Like, oh, there's a business class.
Passenger.
Yeah, passengers. Because ideally what they do when the plane is full like that, they would sometimes move economy class passengers to business class seats if they sit. So their plan was they figured they must have done it, they wanted to bomb the person out and then
Yeah.
still put me back. Even though my ticket was business class, but I was still going to sit economy regardless. But anyways, the car rushed outside. They checked my ticket, saw that it was economy, even though I paid business. And they just, like, you know what? They just started pushing us back. And the hostess was just locking the plane door. And I'm like, hello, what is happening? And they just like pushed us down the stairs. They started putting, I'm like, I just gave I think her name is Tolu, yes, at the time. Just gave her my phone. I just said, start recording. I went in front of the aircraft and I said, this plane, either you climb over me and take off, but if you don't come and explain to me as to why, you can always say, oh my God, we're so sorry. By your rights is the plane is full, we'll get you a hotel, we'll put you on the next flight available, To stand up, I know my rights. And then I
Nigeria.
just went in front of the plane, I lay down, and I'm not going to stand up because this plane cannot taxi out. For the plane to taxi out, you have to climb over my body, literally. So it's either you're going to do that or you come and explain. Come and explain to me. And then the after guys come, they start handling me. Thanks, I was wearing my U-Court shirt, and I was like, nope, I am not leaving this place. If you're not going
She was still recording.
Yes, she was still recording. They took the other guy's phone and tried to record. They smashed it. The officers took out their name tags at the time, yes. And I refused. Each time they raised me up, they slammed me on the tarmac. I said, that's it. The more you're doing this, we're in front of this plane will not leave. I delayed that flight for about an hour. Passengers who were recording from the plane window, their hostesses were telling all of them that if they should stop recording, otherwise they're going to deboard them as well. Yeah.
What airline was this?
Medview Airlines at the time. It was quite a big story. It was everywhere. Instablog, the story was literally everywhere at the time. And I continued like that. And then I was in Yola at the time. And then next, I think soldiers started coming down their Humvees. They were rushing down and taking like probably a terrorist attack or whatever. Because it was 2017. So Boko Haram was still very. I remember being the first UConn members to have gone back there in years.
Yeah, true.
So they rushed there and they jacked me up and it was a cat at the time. They literally raised me up like this. And I was like, they overboarded the flight. They refused to So thankfully, they had done the same thing to I think a brigadier general at the time. But the man of the general at the time just told his boys, just nah, let's just leave it. He just accepted his loss and did not bother about it. So I think they held a grudge. That was what sort of like helped me. And as soon as he heard it, he dropped me down and said, thank you. What was going to happen now is the my right now was now going to be held by someone else who was also a
Well,
victim.
more, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so the
authority.
soldiers now joined my own sides, and upon them now seeing it, the airline guys, the access guys now seeing it, they now decided, where they're going to, take actions to it. That was when they now decided to open the cargo hold of the airplane to bring out everybody's bags to identify, because they were going to fly. Yes.
You were not.
They were taking our luggage, right? So they had to bring it by us and identify our boxes out. The lady was just crying to Lucy, kept on crying because our cash at the time was in the bag. So they were going to leave us stranded. So imagine our boxes is in Lagos. They're not going to give us hotel. We're not going to know the next time we were to fly out of, Yola, right? So they brought out, before they were able to bring our luggage out, checked it. Then I said they're going to give us. They initially came and said, "Oh, there's a junior staff. Can we go stay in his house?" I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Kidding me?
The night before, I stayed in a hotel that I paid for. At the time, a very comfortable hotel. It will not subject, like, I don't suffer. You're not going to subject me to, subject me to that. And
Man, this is weird.
they now said,
Junior staff's
yeah,
house.
I insisted. I think is it FIB? There's a airport bureau investigative guys. They came around to asking questions, blah blah blah. I remember there's a white pilot at the time. Initially, he was taunting me from the plane when I was protesting. When he saw that, okay, I'm going to get what I said getting, he said like doing thumbs up until when they brought my luggage out. I think they finally provided 2 hotel rooms and we're 3. So me and the other guy had to share a room, which was, but bad as a bad, right? And then they allowed us before that plane was able to take off, right? So talking about protests having effect, when done right, yes. I don't know the days, did I get my luggage out? Yes. Did I get on the next flight without any drama? Yes. Did I get the hotel that I was supposed to get with feeding? Yes. Even if they ended up not paying for all of my food, they just paid for dinner, they did not pay for breakfast, I had to pay for it. And then, putting online, the story went viral. The airline, they did meetings. The lawyers got involved.
PR.
Compensation, yeah, it was a PR announcement. The compensation that would give us 1 year of free travels within their route.
Did you take it?
Where's Medley
We did,
now?
but every time we tried to use it, oh my God, it was just, they just said it for saying it. But the important thing is, the airline is no longer existing.
Yeah.
And I protested. I was able to get some semblance of, of
That's the
right
thing I hate
in
about
continuing.
Nigeria, right?
So you do
It's
believe
small
you
wins,
come
but
out
it's
to
something.
protest?
Yeah,
If done right.
If done right, yes, 100%. If done, because that's the only way. If I did not protest at the time, and this is just one example.
I'm not one of those people that say it's the only way. There are like plethora of ways to get things done, but I think protest also works. It's one of those ways, and if it is, like you said, done right, people should actually come out, join the protest, and get what we need done. Our
Yeah.
voices heard.
And mind you, protest mustn't always necessarily have to be on the road, on the street, etc.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'll give another example. When my restaurants were still up and running, when the Fulani headsmen situation started, I'm from Benue State, and they were ravaging, my town, killing people regardless. At a restaurant, I stopped serving beef, right? Because I'm telling myself, you're going to kill people because of cattle. I'm not going to feed into this.
Yeah.
It was a one-man protest. I was doing my own thing, but I
did a one-man protest last
I was
year.
doing what I wanted to do. So imagine you had restaurants all across Nigeria who are saying, you know what, we're not going to buy beef. The message will be sent, loud and clear.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
protest
There are
is
different types of
Different types of-
protests.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
sit-down
And-
protest. There is a protest where you say,
exactly.
I'm not going to walk. I'll be at the office here, but
so
I'm
you
not gonna
mustn't
do
necessarily
anything.
always have to be civil disobedience by going on the street.
Every form of protest is a civil
Also, I
disobedience.
feel like when it comes to protests as well, we need to make sure the people we are, because most of the time I've seen with protests in Nigeria, which is why is when it gets hijacked and people start suffering. Like when I mean people, I mean, for instance, a hospital now that has patients on life support, whereby they are being looted, people are dying. Like, I don't like in our fight for justice, where your right ends is where the next person's right begins.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to be always be careful in our protests not to infringe on the rights of others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Your
for
point
instance, in
exactly.
Nigeria, if you're going out to protest, is in the law that you go to the police to request protection, and you're supposed to do that exactly. Most people don't do that, but I'm not even sure if you do that they will respond. But it's the fact that Nigeria has so many
after
laws.
after this podcast, you would have to show me the part of the law that says I must get police permission
No
to
police
do a
permission.
protest.
You
Not
need to inform them.
permission. You need to inform them. It's not permission.
Just inform them.
Yes,
Just
it's not permission.
information.
Yes.
So if
If
I
they
put it on
say no,
social
they
media
can't
and
say
tag them, okay.
You just need to inform them for
They
you
are
to get
going
protection.
out.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're right as well.
Yes, you can't go
I know,
out.
You're
I
right
know,
to
I'm
get
just-
police
I'm just-
protection
I'm
if you want
just
to go
asking.
protest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when people say, "Oh, because of the protest, the roads are blocked. I couldn't go to the hospital," I say, when there are traffic jams, do you also complain? When
No.
when the president is passing and he blocks the road for 3 hours, emergencies are happening,
No one
and they are
is
now
saying
like,
that
"No,
is
chill,
right.
chill,
That is not
chill."
right either, but
every
two
time
wrongs
that
cannot make
protest
it
happens
right.
in Nigeria, we are quick to point out that, "Oh, people were not able to access the hospital." The president, whenever he passes, blocks the road for 3 hours prior he's leaving. And none of you has ever said about how this thing affects
so
other
just
people.
so-
People
so-
Complain. I complain about that
Just so-
personally.
I get where you're coming from,
I want
but
you
ju-
to.
They
I
made
want
a
you to- I
man
want
jump
us-
into a gutter in
See,
Lube because he
I want
dared
you to
come to the
understand
road
this
when
thing.
President Jonathan
What I
was,
want you to
was
understand-
coming by. They made him enter the gutter and lay down there because
Taylor.
by police. So it's not
What
about
I
road. It's
want
not
you
about
to
So
know-
it's like where you're coming from. So
What
just
I
to
want
clarify
to
what he's
explain
saying,
is this.
it's not saying so you don't
It's
need
not
to
road.
get police permission.
Permission.
You just need to inform them
Information.
because by your
I
right is
understand
saying
you- I
if I'm
understand
going
you.
if I
He
say that I'm
said-
going out to protest right now with some
Yeah.
of my friends and we're saying we don't like the price of Ankara right now. Ankara is so expensive. By my right, I'm going to protest because Ankara is not
Question I-
expensive.
the question I
Come
have-
and protect me.
Protect me.
That's my right.
The question I have then is because he said where your rights end is where
Yes,
another person's
exactly.
own starts.
Yes.
Why? A question I have is when our protest supposed to be convenient for others, are we supposed to go out of our way to make things convenient for
Let me
others?
explain
because
it
we
to
are
you. Let
protesting?
me explain it to you basically, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, the thing is, you
What
as
is
a
the
person,
ideal protest
No, it's
going
not
to
a
look
protest.
like?
It's not
It's
about
not ideal
protest. It's
protest,
not even
yeah.
about protest. About your right as a human being. Whatever you
Well,
have.
I know that.
Yeah, whatever you
I'm
have.
talking about
let me
in the
explain.
context of protest.
Yeah, let me explain. This freedom of expression, assembly, and association. Protest is an aspect of expression.
An
and
association,
assembly,
an
exactly.
assembly.
So this is just an aspect. I'm saying in your right as a human being generally, where your right ends is where the next person's right begins. I will use an example, for instance. You have a house that has a generator at the back. You have the right to want electricity to put on your gen. What is the problem is when that right, the person behind you, the fumes are entering their house. That cannot happen. You're exercising your right. But
I agree.
as you're doing that, the fumes affect the next person. So we need to exercise our right in ways that other people's rights are not infringed upon. That is the statement. So now it's up to you as a human rights activist to be conscious of that whenever you try to get your rights
In the context of a
established.
protest,
Yes.
these rights might be vitiated. And let me explain. When you're doing a protest on the road and you're blocking the road, you're blocking other people from having access to the road.
Yes.
Right? Are you not infringing on their rights?
Can I explain something to you now?
Are you not infringing
You
on
are.
their rights?
Point blank period, you are.
So what should we do
Now,
then?
this is where, like, I always use, unfortunately, Nigeria is not a very sane climb, but use countries like the UK and America. If you want to go on a protest, let's not talk about Black Lives Matter. That became what NSAS became. But for Nigeria, that was like a grander scale, right? But think about it. When you want to protest, for instance, and you say we are coming to Freedom Park, or let's do New York, coming to Times Square, right? The way government is meant to work, they're not meant to stop that protest. They're meant to facilitate it.
Yeah.
So you have told them you are coming here to protest. It is their responsibility to make sure
inform
that
people.
protest happens in a way that public order is not disturbed.
Exactly. They tell everybody
yeah.
protest
Exactly.
expected.
I'm coming
Use
here.
alternative routes. This is it. I mean, Viva la resistance, Viva la revolution, but it's
Those are not
different. Yeah.
protests. Like, those are not like protest. Those are
riots.
protests that riot, exactly. Those are not protests. Protests are meant to be. Amnesty will
problem-
never stand
the-
for protests that get violent.
Of course, protests,
Yes,
protests
it
do
has
not
to
necessarily
remain peaceful.
Peaceful protest, in and of itself, does not mean that it will palatable to everybody. If protest is palatable to everybody, then why is it a protest?
No,
Why?
I feel like that's why.
I've done a one-person protest, by the way. I did a one-person protest last year, right? How is it unpalatable to people? I
made a
held a
point.
banner. I stood on the road. I made them embarrassed. I called out people. They had to see me. It was embarrassing for them, and that
No
makes
problem.
it unpalatable.
Yes.
What I'm saying is this, and I want you to take this home with you, right? Especially as a human rights activist that you are. Be careful when you say, when you try to order or moderate how protests should or how expressions should be, because you play into the playbook of people that say protests are violent, and because of that they have to come in. I'm trying to tell you.
I understand what you're
What I'm saying
saying
is that you have to be careful the nuances that you propagate when you say, oh, there should be a way or an ideal way to protest.
there's no ideal way.
The challenge,
it has to remain peaceful. That is the goal.
The
It doesn't matter how you protest.
The answer protest was
it has to
peaceful.
be peaceful.
It
But
was peaceful,
hijacked.
but we blocked the road.
Yes, it has to be peaceful.
Is that
Let me-
okay?
let me-
No,
let
that
me-
is
let-
not okay. That's what I'm
So
saying.
it is bad then. So the government is right to have intervened.
Let me use
There's
my own
a
example.
grey part.
There's
Let
no
me,
great
let, me,
part.
let me use myself for an example.
okay,
Let me
please,
let me
please,
let me
go
use myself for an
ahead.
example. I shared a story about the airline. I shared a story about the airline. Trying to just push me aside.
Yes.
And I stood in front of the plane. Right. I was trying to enforce my own rights. Was the flight
You
delayed?
delayed flights.
I
You
delayed.
flights,
I
yes.
delayed the flight. Yes. Did I go about destroying the the plane, the airport
No.
facilities? No. Right. I delayed. Did I delay the flight? Yes, I did. Right. Because I was trying to enforce my own rights. Did I cause any damage
Yes,
whatsoever?
you're making my point.
Did I? No. No. So we're making both points. Right.
I'm saying that it's possible. That is, and like I said, I was out on the street for enters. I saw the chaos at Banex. Like no car could pass. I was with trash bags going around picking
I
up.
don't like the
nylon.
way you called it chaos.
It was
And,
chaos.
also let's not forget using my own
There's a-
example.
there's a dictionary example of chaos.
Using my own
It wasn't
example
chaos.
Which
again.
is what?
Ugo,
It wasn't chaos.
Using my own example.
is
Oh my
the-
god!
We
What of
had-
you?
Sorry,
Using my own example
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If I did not insist, right? I'm not trying to say the flight was being delayed, but guess what? If the airline had given out my luggage earlier enough,
You'd have suffered exactly.
yeah. Do you understand? So
Like I
finding
say,
a
it's up
balance.
to you
Exactly.
as
so
a human
the thing
activist to
I'm saying,
find that
the
balance.
thing I'm saying is the same thing you said, right? You blocked people from leaving,
Yes.
which is also their right to leave,
But
right?
but it's also my right to
Yeah,
get my
but-
luggage
exactly,
out of the
exactly.
place.
But it was-
It's also
so where his right
it's also my
Exactly,
right.
exactly.
It's also my right to ensure that
We
the
are
airline does
saying-
what is
we
right.
are saying
so in essence, is the
exactly
airline
the
did not do
same
the right
thing.
thing. I decided to protest.
Exactly.
Right, even though the flight was being delayed, but there was not any real emergency.
There was
in
no
the plane.
damage.
Do you
There
know
was
some
no
people-
damage.
do you know
That's the
some
thing.
people-
Damage.
During
It's
the
a damage.
NSAS protest, there was no damage from us, the protesters.
Agreed, 100%.
Agreed.
But
I
you mentioned
agree.
hijack
I said
multiple times.
hijacking, and the fact that you saw
I
mentioned-
people,
you mentioned hijack.
you
I
saw
understand-
people that were dropped.
I understand
thugs.
I understand the place of hijacking.
Mm-hmm.
What I was telling him not to do is to be careful with ordering the way protests.
No one said
Oh,
it.
it's
Even-
ordering.
I said
He said
where
by,
you're
by
right.
the law, by rights,
Yes,
whenever
where
you go
your
to
right
protest, you
ends.
actually you have a right to be protected
You
by
have
the
a
police.
right.
We are
Literally.
not
You have a
arguing
right.
that.
But all he said is
I
he was
think
reinforcing,
that
he was reiterating
Taylor,
Yeah, we need to
Taylor,
round
I
up.
think that the most important thing in this is that maybe afterwards we'll go back to watch this and see at the point where I had an issue with the wordings that he used, right? Because protest is very
But he
important.
clarified saying you're not reporting to the
Whether-
police.
again-
You're not getting
again,
permission
I
from
don't-
the
I
police.
get you, I
You are
get
actually
you.
just informing them by
The
your
question
rights
is-
for them to come and
is-
protect you.
the
Whether they
question
respond to
is
it or not, whether they
words
do the right thing or
have
not by them,
meaning.
it's up. No. So
Words
essentially,
have
I get what you're trying
when
to say.
Segalink called the NSAS protest an insurrection, he put a target on the back of every NSAS protester. He might have said he was just saying it because of the way the NSAS
So you are
protest was
measuring
moving.
what insurrection was
Words-
something I said here.
No.
So I think what's happening is
You-
the word I learned.
yes,
It's
words.
still
What's
ironing.
the word?
It's called still
What's the
ironing.
word I used?
But at the end of the day, is what he's trying to say is by your
Yes,
right.
by
By
your
your
right.
rights. So by your right, you're supposed to be protected by the police, by the institution. If I want to go
Trust
out to
me, I
protest,
know. I
right?
see. I
so
get
if you're saying
stereotyped
letting
every day. I get it.
Do you
Trust
realize?
me.
Do you realize if you go out to protest, you ask the police to protect you, they don't protect you, and any harm happen to you, you can go back
But
and say
I wrote to the police.
yes, the police did not protect
They
me.
didn't do their
when I went-
job.
They did not do their job. And you have every right to also still enforce
You know,
that
the way
rights
you
as
guys,
well.
the way you guys say it is a very good way of saying is a textbook explanation of
Exactly.
my
If the
feelings.
Theory.
police
I
don't protect you or
understand.
not,
Theory.
All the
Inform
things that
them
you
to
guys,
do
all
the
the
right
things that
thing,
you,
yeah.
both of you are saying
Yeah.
is understood and accepted,
Yeah.
right? What I was talking about was nuances.
Nobody can police protest. We both
Nobody
agree. That's what I'm
can
saying.
police
You emphasizing
And the
it.
way
we
and
know.
the words that you use can be misconstrued. That was why I was calling your attention
What
to.
word?
Example now, just recently you said that the protest in Banex was chaotic. It was the wrong choice of word to use. It wasn't chaotic. We were cohesive. We were fully in charge. You were picking dirts on the ground. Nobody was hitting you. Do you know what chaos looks like?
The chaos happened before we had to disperse. We were in humble. There was music playing on the DJ.
So music
the chaos
playing
happened,
is
and then we had to
chaotic.
disperse.
Then you see the point where
The
I'm coming to.
hijacking.
It's the
It
word.
got hijacked. It got chaotic, and we had to disperse. I mentioned that, did I not? You need to round up anyway.
So yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm grateful to be on the podcast and talk about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening to this episode. We had a very interesting conversation with Obianuju and Taylor. They shared their experiences. Subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, also on our social media platforms. It's Amnesty International Nigeria, and we can't wait to see you next time.